Imagine standing at the top of a pyramid, looking out over a vast empire that once dominated the heart of the Americas. Now picture Spanish ships appearing on the horizon, about to change this land forever. This is Mexico, a country shaped by ancient civilizations, foreign conquests, and fierce struggles for freedom. Today, Mexico ranks among the world's top tourist destinations, known for its beautiful beaches, delicious food, and colorful traditions. But the story behind this vibrant nation is one of dramatic highs and lows that stretch back thousands of years. How did Mexico transform from the land of the Aztecs to the modern country we know today? The answer lies in a fascinating journey through time, a tale of empires rising and falling, revolutions that changed everything, and a people who repeatedly rebuilt their nation against incredible odds. This is the remarkable story of Mexico. Long before Mexico had its name, the first humans arrived in the region between 26,000 and 19,000 years ago. These early people crossed a land bridge that once connected Asia to North America during the last ice age. As they spread southward, these pioneers found a land blessed with natural resources, fertile soil, abundant wildlife, and varied climates perfect for growing food. Around 11,000 years ago, rising sea levels covered the land bridge, separating the Americas from the rest of the world. Cut off from other continents, these early settlers began developing their own unique ways of life. By 2000 BC, they had started farming intensively, building the first permanent settlements, and laying the groundwork for something extraordinary, the rise of great civilizations. Unlike anything else on Earth, around 1200 BC, the first major civilization in Mexico appeared, the Olmec. Living in what is now Veracruz and Tabasco, the Olmec are famous for carving massive stone heads weighing up to 20 tons. These mysterious people created the foundation for all later Mexican civilizations with their religious ideas, art styles, and building methods. But by 300 BC, the Olmec civilization had disappeared, leaving behind only their stone monuments and many unanswered questions. Into this empty space rose an even more impressive civilization centered around the city of Teotihuacan in central Mexico. By 500 AD, Teotihuacan had grown into a true metropolis with about 125,000 residents, one of the largest cities in the world at that time. The city's massive Pyramid of the Sun and Pyramid of the Moon still stand today, reminding us of this civilization's incredible achievements. At the same time, another remarkable culture was developing in southern Mexico, the Maya. Unlike many ancient peoples, the Maya left behind written records that help us understand their world. They created an advanced writing system, made breakthrough discoveries in mathematics and astronomy, and built impressive cities like Tikal and Chichen Itza. The Maya could predict solar eclipses with amazing accuracy and created calendars more precise than those used in Europe at the time. Their society was ununified under a single ruler, but divided into competing city-states that frequently went to war with each other. Then something mysterious happened. By the 9th century AD, many great Maya cities were abandoned, their magnificent temples left to be reclaimed by the jungle. Around the same time, the mighty city of Teotihuacan also fell into decline and was eventually abandoned. What caused these collapses? Was it drought? War? Disease? Historians still debate the reasons. But one thing is clear: the fall of these civilizations created an opportunity for new powers to emerge. After the fall of Teotihuacan, a people called the Toltecs briefly dominated central Mexico. But it was another group, the Aztecs, who would create the most powerful empire Mexico had ever seen. The Aztecs started as a small nomadic tribe searching for a homeland. According to legend, their god Huitzilopochtli told them to build a city where they saw an eagle perched on a cactus with a snake in its mouth. In 1325, they found this sign on a small island in Lake Texcoco and founded their capital city, Tenochtitlan. Through military conquests and political alliances, the Aztecs expanded rapidly. By the early 1500s, they controlled a vast empire of about 5 million people across central Mexico. Their capital, Tenochtitlan, grew into an engineering marvel, a city built on an island connected to the mainland by massive causeways. With around 200,000 residents, it was larger than any European city of that time. The Aztec Empire grew rich by demanding tribute from conquered peoples. Gold, cotton, cacao beans, and other valuable goods flowed into Tenochtitlan. At the heart of the city stood the Templo Mayor, a massive pyramid where the Aztecs performed thousands of human sacrifices to keep their gods happy and maintain the balance of the universe. But the Aztec Empire had weaknesses. Many conquered peoples hated their Aztec rulers and the heavy tribute they demanded. This resentment would soon play a crucial role in one of history's most dramatic turning points. In February 1519, Spanish conquistador Hernán Cortés landed on Mexico's Gulf Coast with just 500 men, 16 horses, and a few cannons. He founded the settlement of Veracruz, the first Spanish town in Mexico, and prepared to venture inland. Cortés soon learned about the wealthy Aztec Empire and its gold-filled capital. Despite being outnumbered by thousands to one, he made the daring decision to march to Tenochtitlan. Along the way, he formed alliances with the Aztecs' enemies, particularly the Tlaxcalans, who provided thousands of warriors to support the Spanish. When Cortés reached Tenochtitlan in November 1519, Aztec Emperor Moctezuma II welcomed him, possibly believing Cortés might be the returned god Quetzalcoatl. This mistake proved fatal. The Spanish took Moctezuma hostage and tried to rule through him. Tensions boiled over in 1520 when Spanish soldiers massacred Aztec nobles during a religious festival. The Aztecs revolted, forcing the Spanish to flee during the Night of Sorrows, when many Spaniards died trying to escape the city. But Cortés didn't give up. He rebuilt his army, constructed ships to attack the island city from the lake, and returned to lay siege to Tenochtitlan. The Aztecs fought bravely, but they faced an enemy even more terrible than Spanish weapons: disease. Smallpox, brought by the Europeans, swept through the city, killing thousands who had no immunity. After 93 days of brutal fighting, Tenochtitlan fell on August 13, 1521. The last Aztec emperor, Cuauhtémoc, was captured, and the Spanish destroyed the great city. On its ruins, they built Mexico City, the capital of their new colony, New Spain. The Spanish quickly set about reshaping Mexico. Catholic missionaries arrived to convert the indigenous people to Christianity. The Spanish introduced European farming methods, animals like horses and cattle, and new crops. The discovery of massive silver deposits in places like Zacatecas and Guanajuato transformed Mexico's economy. Silver mining became the backbone of New Spain, making it the crown jewel of Spain's global empire. Huge amounts of silver flowed across the Pacific to Spain's other colony, the Philippines, and from there to China, connecting Mexico to the first truly global trade network. To work these mines in the large farms called haciendas, the Spanish created the encomienda system, which forced indigenous people to provide labor. As disease killed millions of native inhabitants, the Spanish began importing enslaved people from Africa to work in the mines and on sugar plantations. As different populations mixed, a complex social hierarchy developed. At the top were peninsulares, next came criollos, below them were mestizos, at the bottom were indigenous peoples and enslaved Africans. Despite this rigid system, cultures began to blend. Spanish and indigenous practices mixed to create new traditions that we still recognize as distinctly Mexican today, from foods like tacos and tamales to the unique form of Catholicism that incorporated native elements. By the late 1700s, New Spain stretched from Central America to what is now the southwestern United States. Spanish explorers founded settlements with now familiar names like San Antonio, Los Angeles, and San Francisco. After nearly 300 years of Spanish rule, many in Mexico, especially criollos, who felt overlooked for government positions, began questioning colonial authority. The American and French revolutions spread new ideas about freedom and equality that would soon spark dramatic changes. The trigger for Mexico's independence wasn't something that happened in Mexico, but in Spain. When, Napoleon Bonaparte invaded Spain in 1808 and placed his brother on the Spanish throne. It threw the Spanish Empire into crisis. Taking advantage of this chaos, on September 16, 1810, a parish priest named Miguel Hidalgo gathered his congregation in the town of Dolores and called for independence from Spain. This famous cry of Dolores marked the beginning of Mexico's fight for freedom, and September 16th is still celebrated as Mexican Independence Day. Father Hidalgo quickly gathered a large but poorly organized army of indigenous and mestizo Mexicans. Although they captured several cities, they were eventually defeated by better-trained royalist forces. Hidalgo was captured and executed in 1811. Independence movement continued under other leaders like José María Morelos, who was also eventually captured and executed, and Vicente Guerrero, who kept fighting from the mountains of southern Mexico. Strangely, it was a former Spanish officer, Agustín de Iturbide, who finally secured Mexican independence. Seeing Spain's grip weakening, Iturbide switched sides and allied with Guerrero. Together, they forced Spain to grant Mexico its independence on September 27, 1821, almost exactly 11 years after the struggle began. Mexico's early years as an independent nation were extremely difficult. Iturbide briefly ruled as emperor. Augustine died before being overthrown in 1823. Mexico established itself as a republic, but this was just the beginning of decades of political turmoil. In 1835, General Antonio López de Santa Anna took power and created a centralized government, abolishing Mexico's federal system. This triggered the Texas Revolution, where American settlers and some Mexicans in the northern province of Texas fought for independence. The famous Battle of the Alamo in 1836, where all defenders were killed, became a rallying cry for Texans. Later that year, Santa Anna was defeated and captured at the Battle of San Jacinto, forcing him to recognize Texas independence. Mexico's problems continued to grow. In 1846, tensions with the expanding United States erupted into the Mexican-American War. The conflict was a disaster for Mexico. American forces invaded from multiple directions, even capturing Mexico City. When the war ended in 1848, Mexico was forced to sign the Treaty of Guadalupe Hidalgo, giving up nearly half its territory, what would become California, Nevada, Utah, most of Arizona and New Mexico, and parts of Colorado and Wyoming. This devastating loss remains a painful memory in Mexican history. More trouble followed. From 1857 to 1861, Mexico fought the War of Reform, a civil war between liberals who wanted to reduce the power of the Catholic Church and military, and conservatives who wanted to maintain traditional power structures. Just as the liberals won this internal struggle, a new threat emerged. Taking advantage of Mexico's weakness and unpaid debts, France invaded in 1862. With support from Mexican conservatives, they installed Austrian Archduke Maximilian as Emperor of Mexico. President Benito Juárez and his supporters continued fighting against this foreign-imposed monarchy. When France withdrew its troops in 1866, due to pressure from the United States and problems in Europe, Emperor Maximilian refused to leave. He was captured and executed by firing squad in 1867, ending this brief Second Mexican Empire. In 1876, General Porfirio Diaz seized power and began a 35-year dictatorship known as the Porfiriato. Diaz's motto was order and progress. He modernized Mexico, building railroads, telegraph lines, and ports, while attracting foreign investment that created new industries. But the benefits of this progress mostly went to wealthy elites and foreign investors. Ordinary Mexicans faced harsh working conditions, lost their lands to large haciendas, and had no political freedom. Diaz maintained control through rigged elections and a ruthless rural police force. By 1910, opposition to Diaz had grown. When he broke his promise to step down from power, wealthy landowner Francisco Madero called for revolution. This sparked the Mexican Revolution, a bloody civil war that would last a decade and claim over 1 million lives. The revolution saw the rise of legendary figures like Pancho Villa, who led a powerful army in northern Mexico, and Emiliano Zapata, who fought for land reform in the South with the slogan Land and Liberty. Both became folk heroes who still symbolize the fight for justice. The revolution was complex, with constantly shifting alliances. Madero became president but was assassinated in 1913. Venustiano Carranza then took leadership but faced opposition from Villa and Zapata. By 1920, most of the fighting had ended, but the country lay in ruins, with its population, economy, and infrastructure devastated. The decades after the revolution focused on rebuilding Mexico based on the principles fought for during the conflict. In 1917, Mexico adopted a new constitution, one of the most progressive of its time, that limited foreign ownership of resources, guaranteed labor rights, limited church power, and promised land reform. President Plutarco Elias Calles founded the National Revolutionary Party in 1929, which would dominate Mexican politics for the next 71 years. This one-party system brought stability, but also corruption and limited democracy. The 1930s saw major changes under President Lázaro Cárdenas, who distributed over 45 million acres of land to peasant communities and nationalized Mexico's oil industry, creating the state-owned petroleum company Pemex. These moves were hugely popular with ordinary Mexicans. From the 1940s to the 1970s, Mexico experienced what became known as the Mexican Miracle, a period of sustained economic growth averaging 6% per year. Industrialization accelerated, cities grew rapidly, and a new middle class emerged. The 1968 Olympics in Mexico City showcased this modern Mexico to the world. However, beneath the surface, problems were building. Income inequality remained high, and the PRI's grip on power grew increasingly corrupt and authoritarian. The government's violent crackdown on student protesters shortly before the 1968 Olympics showed the darker side of PRI rule. The boom times couldn't last forever. In the 1970s and 1980s, Mexico faced severe economic problems, including inflation, debt crisis, and the devaluation of the peso. In 1982, Mexico shocked the world by defaulting on its foreign debt. The devastating Mexico City earthquake of 1985, which killed thousands, exposed government inefficiency and corruption. Citizens had to organize their own rescue efforts when the government response proved inadequate. These crises helped spark demands for true democracy. In 2000, Vicente Fox of the National Action Party won the presidency, ending 71 years of uninterrupted PRI rule. This peaceful transition of power marked an important milestone in Mexico's democratic development. Economically, Mexico embraced globalization, joining the North American Free Trade Agreement with the United States and Canada in 1994. Manufacturing exports boomed, particularly in the auto industry. Today, Mexico stands as one of the world's largest economies and a major cultural influence globally. Its films, music, art, and cuisine are appreciated worldwide. However, the country continues to face significant challenges, particularly from powerful drug cartels that have caused violence in many regions, corruption that undermines institutions, and persistent inequality. From ancient civilizations to modern democracy, Mexico's journey has been marked by dramatic transformations. Through it all, the Mexican people have shown remarkable resilience and creativity, building a unique culture that blends indigenous traditions with European influences. Mexico's story is one of contrast, magnificent achievements alongside painful struggles, foreign domination followed by fierce independence, and traditional values mixing with modern innovations. The Mexico we know today, with its vibrant cities, beautiful colonial architecture, ancient ruins, and rich traditions, is the product of this complex history. It's a nation that has repeatedly reinvented itself while maintaining a distinct cultural identity that continues to captivate the world. As Mexico faces the challenges of the 21st century, it does so with the strength that comes from overcoming countless obstacles throughout its extraordinary history. The story of Mexico reminds us that nations, like the people who create them, can endure tremendous hardships and still emerge stronger than before. This has been the story of Mexico, a tale of ancient empires, conquest, revolution, and rebirth that continues to unfold to this day. Thank you for watching. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to our channel for timely updates on future videos.